6 p.m. meeting. Would you kindly turn off your phones, put it on silent, please? And we're going to stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for your goodness to us. I thank you for your mercy, your kindness. I pray, Lord, that you'll please enter the room today and help us to make the proper decisions for the community. Be with us, guide us, direct us, and all you do, we'll give your name the honor and the glory. In Jesus' name we ask it. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please. Mr. Edelman? Here. Mr. Bromley? Here. Mr. Frazier? Here. Mrs. Leonardi? Here. Mrs. Smith? Here. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as prepared? Heather?
I'll make that motion,
Okay, Dawn? Any questions or comments? Call the roll. Mr. Bromley?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Edelman?
Yes.
Mrs. Leonardi?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Yes. At what point do I call for the public hearing?
You'll have to do it after this meeting's over now. It won't be part of the meeting.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the minutes of the regular meeting of June 25th, 2019 as submitted and placed on file?
So make a motion.
Okay, Bill and then Keith. Are any comments or questions? Call the roll.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Bromley?
Yes.
Mr. Edelman?
Yes.
Mrs. Leonardi? Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Yes. Public participation pertaining to agenda items. Hearing none, we'll move on to the operational reports. Is there a motion to accept the operational reports of the building inspector, finance, fire, human resources, risk management, treasurer, police, public works, and water wastewater for the month of June 2019 is submitted and placed on file?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Keith?
Second.
Heather? Are there any questions or comments regarding any of them?
I'd just like to say kudos to our Public Works Department. They have been very, very busy. And the work shows, as well as our other departments. The police department has been very busy and taking care of all of us, as well as each and every one. So it's not that one's better than the other. They all work very well, and I appreciate it.
Agreed. Any other comments?
Yeah,
Oh,
I guess I want,
yep, sorry.
I don't see anything from the building inspector or fire.
You are correct. They didn't submit any.
So can we scratch those?
Right.
Could you guys speak up a little bit, please? Sorry, we didn't hear anything you said.
Oh, that could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing.
Bad thing, always bad.
Yeah.
What I was basically saying was kudos. We get our reports, and the report that we got from the Public Works Department of all the work they've done. A lot of paving's been going on, how they had to do things ahead of time, raise the collars and stuff on the manholes, and, well, that's what I call them. Anyways, I think that's not politically correct anymore. But anyways, it's just kudos, and they worked on the splash pad and all our other departments. I know the police department's been very, very busy servicing all of us. So I just want to say thank you. It's not any one specific department. They all are very productive and appreciated.
There's rules.
Okay, we'll accept those, with the exception of the building inspector and the fire. Call the roll.
Mr. Edelman?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Leonardi?
Yes.
Mr. Bromley?
Yes.
Is there a motion to accept and place on file the minutes of the Benson Library Board of 6/18, the Housing Authority of 6/18, the Planning Commission of 3/14, 5/9, and the Safety Committee of 6/17?
I'll make the motion, Mayor.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Bromley?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier,
Yes.
Mrs. Leonardi,
Yes.
Mr. Edelman.
Yes.
Is there a motion to ratify the bill listing warrants dated 6/28 and 7/12?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
And Keith. For all you newcomers, Larry sends us the bill listings during the month. We have the opportunity to review them, and if we have any questions, we can shoot them back to him or ask him here. Any questions or comments? No? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Leonardi,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Edelman,
Yes.
Mr. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Bromley.
Yes.
Is there a motion to adopt Council Bill number 5 of 2019 on second reading?
I'll make the motion, Mayor.
Steve?
Seconded.
Donald?
Yes.
Larry?
Council Bill number 5 of 2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Titusville, Crawford County, Pennsylvania, to amend sections 904.99, 1111.99, and 1905.99 of the codified ordinances of the City of Titusville, to revise the penalties for violations of certain city ordinances.
Are there any questions or comments? No? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bromley,
Yes.
Mrs. Leonardi,
Yes.
Mr. Edelman,
Yes.
Mr. Frazier,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 14 of 2019, the multimodal grant application?
Mayor, I'd be very pleased to make that motion.
Donald
Second.
and Keith. Larry?
Resolution number 14 of 2019, a resolution of the City of Titusville, Crawford County, Pennsylvania, authorizing an application for a multimodal transportation fund grant through the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, and this grant would be for $1.5 million.
Are there any questions?
This does, as we read before.
Can you hear him?
This before is also to take and bring some additional jobs in doing this, and it's going to allow easier entry and exit trucking wise into the opportunity part. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Edelman,
Yes.
Mr. Bromley,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Leonardi.
Yes.
Is there a motion to adopt resolution number 15 of 2019, zoning changing for pit properties?
I'll make the motion.
Keith?
I'll second.
Heather?
Resolution number 15 of 2019. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Titusville, Crawford County, Pennsylvania, authorizing and directing the city manager of the City of Titusville to undertake the necessary steps to enact a zoning ordinance amendment to change the zoning applicable to property known as 324 Murdoch Boulevard, Titusville, also known as tax parcel number 5600-K-7-7A. And as was discussed at the work session, this is changing it from an S1 district to an R3. And this is just the beginning step. It goes to planning from here.
Comments?
So it goes to planning. Planning has the opportunity to say yea or nay or their opinions, right?
Right, they would list any issues that would be involved.
Okay.
Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Edelman,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Bromley,
Yes.
Mrs. Leonardi.
Yes.
Okay, public participation. Your name, sir?
Lucia Hippo,
Your address?
402 South Drake Street, Titusville.
Okay. Yes, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Excuse me. And here's- no. don't think I have extra copies of the city ordinances. Would anyone like a copy of that?
I'll take one.
Okay.
Have them to give, please.
There is, there's my pictures.
Okay.
There's the city ordinance copy, and there should be another one, a short one.
Here, maybe right here.
Okay, and a short one.
Okay.
Okay, this is concerning, the house on Bank Street that had the fire. And we're concerned about the problems that are going on in there. We've had contact with Mr. Lorenz, we've had contact with the police, and we're not getting anywhere. We're very upset, and I'm going through the ordinances, and you have a picture in front of you. I'm going through the ordinances, and they all apply to this property here, okay? It says that non-compliant structures, if any order issued and served in accordance with this housing code is not in compliance and within time specified, the structure with respect to which the order has issued is hereby declared a public nuisance, and no person that has knowledge of the insurance or such shall occupy a human habitation or any manner use of the structure or any part of it, okay? Then they were told me it was temporary housing. Well, under temporary housing, it cannot be attached to the ground. And as you can see, they're living in or abiding in a shed, okay? Then we go on to if refuge, you can see all kinds of refuge there, means, and I'm not gonna go tell you what the refuge is, but if the code is not complied with, an order shall occupy the human habitation in any manner use of the structure or any part of the structure is not allowed. No person shall occupy, own or occupied, or let any other for occupation any structure for the purpose of living or transacting business which does not comply with the following requirements of this order. Then we go on to, if you look at the junk. The junk and the placement of the junk is hereby declared a nuisance and detrimental to the health, safety, and comfort and welfare of the city of residents of the city of Titusville, I'm sorry. Its unregulated area provides a breeding place for rodents and insects, nuisance to children, and it can create hazard which may be dangerous for the health and welfare of the citizens of Titusville. And then it goes on that you can apply. You know, they say they can't do anything. Well, under the ordinances, you can apply penalties to these people forever. It says you can penalties not exceeding 1 month, one per month of the property, and limited to no more than $1,000 for the first 2 and uncorrected violations. If it's a third party, and it goes on and on and on. If it's a public health safety, you can citate them every 5 days for a continuation with no less than $500 and no more than $1,000 for the first 2. And then it goes on to the duty of the building officer to repair or demolish the property. If the owner fails to rectify the conditions, the cost for demolition shall be a municipal lien against the real property upon which the cost was incurred. If the structure is removed or demolished by the order of the building official, he can sell the materials of such structure for the best price available and shall credit the process to the sale against the cost of the removal or the demolition.
Okay.
There's things you can do. Yes, dear.
So take me back to the beginning. So there was a fire.
Yes, there was a fire at 212 Bank. 320? 320 Bank.
20 bank,
With arson.
okay.
Ms. Medrose must know about this. I told you about this.
I am aware of it, and I agree with everything you're saying, but there's still
So
a
then-
process that has to be followed, a legal process. This particular individual who owns this home is set for a hearing at the magistrate's office the 31st of this month. I cannot rush that, the magistrate sets that. The other people who are supposedly hanging out in the backyard, and the police chief here is to verify, they have all been arrested, that they've speak to that. We have been working on this. I know the process is just very lengthy, and we have to follow the law and the rules.
Are you fining him for all these things?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what the hearing's about.
Because we
The
call
fine. See,
people,
we
they
don't
don't
set-
know anything.
The fine is set by the judge, not the city. The judge will look at the ordinance and they will set the fine off of the ordinance. The city does not make that decision, the judge does.
What about the city demolishing it?
The city has the, probably after we follow a process, notification, notices and all that, we can demolish it. But there again, you're putting that burden on the taxpayer. We'll never recoup that money from this individual.
Well,
So
what's the-
consequently, if it's $8,000, the taxpayer's burden to pay that.
What's the budget for the code enforcement officer?
Well, you mean annually for him to spend?
Yes.
$1,500. It would cost $7,000.
Okay. I know it's possible because I've seen it done. Let's take money from Joe to pay Bill. Was his budget cut or money taken out of his budget to pay for something else that we wanted to get done?
No, sir, his budget is actually increased. It's, you know, it stays very close to the same. It used to be, I believe, 1,200 and now it's 15, but it has not increased a lot, or it hasn't decreased at all.
Chief, what did you want to say there?
Well,
You assist in this?
And you know us.
I can and I can't. I mean, as far as the property, you know, that doesn't fall under our jurisdiction
Right.
per se.
I
The
understand.
people, however, do. The fire was April 28th, which, as you know, we arrested the person who started that fire.
Right.
Since then, we've been there 5 different times to that property. And we've arrested 2 different people on 2 different occasions at that location. Friday was one, in fact, we had a foot pursuit, and we eventually caught that individual and he went to jail. But we can't simply arrest them for staying or being in those sheds out back. It's not an arrestable offense. We've been able to arrest them for other matters, but that in and of itself
That
is a
goes
criminal.
back to them, which I'm trying to say, because they've been living in the place or occupying a place that they have no right to be in. That, I see what you're saying. They have to make a decision on that to let you know.
Well, they have rights to be on that property. The owner has allowed them to be on that
But
property.
according to the code, it says that nobody, not even shall occupy that residence. It says it right in the code,
Okay,
right?
I don't dispute any of this.
Right.
I really don't dispute that. There's just a process that we are legally bound to follow, and the judge has that call to make. We have to
No.
take it to the judge.
so that's.
There's a lot more to the story that if you talk to the chief, he'll explain. It may not be liable to bring up here. Yes.
Yeah, I'll just say this. Number one, thank you for coming.
Yes.
You had us at hello, if I can use that term. We hear you loud and clear. We actually have a great track record in this community in the last 8 years for dealing with blight and situations like you're dealing with. And like Larry said, there's a process here, and we'll move it along just as fast. If you could trust us, we'll make sure that we follow along and do everything within our powers to make it right. We've got a great little town here.
I retired here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I retired here and I like here, but there's definitely serious problems.
You have our support, I can tell you that right now. So, am I wrong?
But I'd like to see something done.
Well, I think there, but
You
you
know,
said
we've
there was
been
a
trying to
trial
get
set.
things done for
There's a hearing.
7 years, 8 years, and we've been hitting a blank wall for 8 years.
Yeah,
So it's time for me to motivate,
yeah, and I'll tell you, we're gonna look into this, Lou.
right?
Ma'am, you were wanting to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to know if the homeowner of that property will not take care of it and it's uninhabitable, has anybody considered a controlled burn through the fire department to bring it down?
That was one of the,
We don't own that property.
Right.
You can't burn the property.
There are legal things that we can't.
But if
do.
he legally won't, if he has no intention of taking it down, is that house allowed to stay like that?
No, but he would have to go through the process, you know, a hearing probably, then he would appeal it, and another hearing. This whole process will take months before we would legally be allowed to even go in and touch it.
You know, because when we spoke with, Tim Lorenz, he said, you know, it's gonna be there, we gotta go through the red tape, blah, blah, blah. So we suggested at that point, if the owner of that property does nothing, can we have the fire department step in and help us after all your legalities and all that is taken care of?
That I'm not sure of. A controlled burn requires approval from the DEP. That would have to be done first. We'd have to get that approval once we had
Well,
the
it's
legal
something
authority to do
consider.
that. Then we would have to get approval from the DEP.
Okay.
And probably now, when you get an approval, you also have to have an asbestos abatement, which is a couple $1,000 to get an asbestos abatement before they'll approve a burn. So
It's
there's
probably easier
there again,
just to
I
demolish it.
realize this is legal tape, but it's a rule we have to live
If
by.
you're gonna get permission to burn it, you get permission to demolish it.
Well, let's look, we need to look into this, Lou. So give us some time and,
I have a question pertaining to Lou's topic here.
okay,
Are the taxes paid on that property? Are they
Yes.
current?
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, I looked into that, yeah. He keeps the taxes up to snuff,
Okay.
so.
If it was county held.
Yeah.
Lou, thank you for bringing
Yeah,
it to
Lou,
us. Thank you.
Lou, we're on it. We'll look into it, all right? I thank you, Lou. Are there any other questions or comments?
Yeah, James Elliott, 306 North Franklin Street, Titusville. Mayor Smith, I have some questions I want to ask, and I think it's very important that you answer these questions since you have been attacking other candidates, and it appears you are running a political campaign yourself. Number one, who is paying for the ads and mailings that have been sent out recently, the Alert City and Crisis ads? No comment?
No comment.
Okay, number two, so you probably were doing it. Number two, Mayor Smith, are you running for city council?
No comment.
All right, and then, since it's no, will you stick to that or no comment?
Actually, I will answer that. No, I'm not.
Okay,
So, but no comment on any of this.
okay. So now, if it's, since it's no, will you stick to that if God directs you at the last minute to do a write-in campaign?
Okay, do you have any other questions?
Yes, I
regarding
do.
city
Now,
business?
Mayor Smith, I have 5 minutes to ask, and I'm asking civil questions.
Okay.
I'm not being ignorant or disrespectful. Mayor Smith, well, that's your opinion. Mayor Smith, are you still backing Jay LaPertz for city council? Her hearing was today.
Keep going.
Are you backing her still?
This is ridiculous. Go on,
Well,
Joe.
How's that city business?
What's that?
How is that city business?
Yeah, we're
It
done.
is city
We're done.
business.
Okay,
Mayor
so-
Smith, is it right to use City Hall for your political shams?
This isn't.
The city, the Titusville PA Mayor Esther Smith page and the Titusville City Hall page were both referenced at the top of the flyers that were mailed out. And how's come you didn't mingle with any of the children at the grand opening of the splash pad?
Oh my God. This is hilarious.
It is
All right, are there any
hilarious.
other questions or comments? No? Okay, now, at this point, do we move into the public hearing?
You have to adjourn.
Okay. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion adjourned.
Dawn, is there a second?
I'll second.
Heather? Call the roll?
Mr. Frazier,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes. Yes.
Mrs. Leonardi,
Yes.
Mr. Bromley,
Yes.
Mr. Edelman.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, that was just about the most hilarious thing I've ever witnessed.
Kinda
Okay,
like
let's
those
move
flyers
on
you sent
to
out.
the public hearing. Is there no? Okay, moving on to the public hearing. Larry?
This public hearing has to do with the CDBG funds that were allocated for 2018. Those funds were allocated for demolition and also for a walk bridge across Perry Street, where the current bridge is closed. That bridge will not be out in time to utilize these funds in time we would lose them. They expire in 3 years, you have to use them. Because it's gonna take a while to get the bridge down, council has decided that they would be better to utilize that portion of funds to renovate the fire station, to get the new aerial truck inside because the ceiling isn't high enough. So the funds are to be used to reconstruct the whole roof. We're putting a hip roof on there, which will give us a couple more feet of clearance, enough to get the aerial truck inside, and future trucks are all taller that would house those trucks as well. Purpose of the hearing is to let the public comment on this. That's the proposed use of the funds. You certainly have a right, if you have any other ideas, bring them forward and say what you'd like. And so we can just open it up to public comment. Anybody has any suggestions on other use?
Larry Emerson, 120 West Wall. Okay, I didn't think you clarified that. You said a hip roof on the total?
On the total fire station alone,
Okay,
not the whole police station.
okay.
Did you mean hip or gable? The hip slopes back down towards the road. You're just putting a
Yeah,
regular pitch roof
it's
on.
kind of like a cathedral ceiling type.
Okay.
Truss.
But it'll be just one slope down each side.
Yes.
Okay, just a gable roof then.
And those plans are just getting started on it. We don't have anything to show yet.
Who's
The
drawing
engineers
the plan?
just looked it over here last week.
Ken Leach, maybe no, I'm supposed to say that before I speak. Who's doing your plans? Joe?
Yeah, Joe's company, yeah,
Okay.
Stiflin McGraw. We're under contract for 3 years to use Stiflin McGraw for CDBG. This is their
Oh, okay.
This is their third year.
Okay.
Ken, do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah.
Seriously?
No.
On which way to
Matter of
go?
fact, I suggested just what you're saying.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Not to any official here, but to self-fire.
Right, okay, good, good.
Well, is that gonna look odd?
Define all that.
Well,
It's used, it's a flat roof, every roof around there except the police station it also has a gable. Which I think eventually we should do something with the police station because that roof has leaked since day one.
yeah.
But no, that won't look odd.
Okay, well, wouldn't it be wise if we,
No, it's too long,
okay,
yeah. You'd have to do two different.
Two pitches or something.
Yeah.
We have to worry about snow load too because of how it's set up, right?
Well, yeah, you'll have to look for make sure it doesn't dump all into the police station, and they get your roof sooner. Put a metal on it, then it'll get rid of it.
We'll move them over to the fire station.
What about water runoff? Did you already discuss that?
It's no different than it is today.
Okay.
I'm not involved in it, but
Yeah.
you have to have a plan anytime you water runoff, and that's already non-permeable soil, so
Yeah.
it doesn't change that.
Gotcha, thank you.
oh. Okay, are there any other questions?
I think it's a wise thing to do.
And that is the monies that we had set aside for the walking bridge.
Correct, for 2018, and that money is already available, so
Okay,
as soon as the design drawings are done and it goes out to bid, we can proceed with that project. The goal is to do it before snow falls, but we'll see.
Yeah, just gonna ask that, does that mean before cold weather?
That's the goal.
Okay,
You know, we're depending on a lot of people.
And just to redefine, you can only have your CBG money for 3 years, and we're hearing that it may take over 3 years before the bridge is removed and all that stuff. So therefore, we're using what we had planned for that because it would have expired for that project.
Before we could have done the project.
Right. The bridge project.
Yes.
okay. Then we'll close that hearing. And do I need another motion to adjourn? Okay, folks, I wanna thank everyone for coming. We'll see you next month, hopefully.